Hello, my name is Spencer Hawkinsmith, and I'm here today to talk about becoming a more accommodating teacher. Now, in your classroom, do you have any struggling students? And if so, why might they be struggling inside your classroom? Now, there is a few reasons why they might be struggling, and one of the main reasons could be is they may have a learning disability. Examples of learning disabilities that you may come across in the classroom could be students that are on the autism spectrum, or students that have a specific learning disability, or students that have an emotional disturbance, or have had a traumatic brain injury, or there are 13 things in fact that they could be. And for a majority of these, those students will receive IEPs, or Individualized Education Program, which is designed to help those students in an accommodating fashion by giving them the tools they need to be able to succeed in a program that's mainly set with setting goals and assisting that student with meeting those goals. People that would be helping the student with their IEP would be the IEP team, which is also called the multidisciplinary team. That includes people like the school psychologist, the special education teacher, a few general education teachers if the student is in general education classrooms. It would be all of those teachers as well, a representative of the local education agency, and the parents, as well as, most importantly, the student. An effective way of teaching students with learning disabilities is by using the learning cycle, which is a cycle that is shared by both the student and the teacher, and they both have an effective role in the entire cycle, and without one, the other would be pretty much pointless in the situation. Essentially, what the cycle is the teacher will set goals for the student to be able to, they'll set goals and they'll make instructions for the student. They'll make planning and instruction plans for the student to be able to follow. And then the teacher will receive information back from the student based on how well he does using examinations or projects. The teacher will be able to see how well the student is doing with their form of teaching that they just did with their instruction and things. And if the student is responding well to the instruction, then the teacher will keep doing it and making sure that the student is still learning very well with it. And if the teacher is not, or if the student is not learning properly, then the teacher will change their own instruction. They'll change what they do. The teacher will change the way that they teach the student in order for the student to have a better understanding and a better grasp of the information that is being taught. So it is the teacher's responsibility of understanding the signals and the information that the student gives them to be able to make a better lesson plan for the student to be able to learn. Now, the only way that the learning cycle can ever work is if you use evaluation and progress monitoring, which is taking the information that the student gives you and you evaluate how they are doing and you monitor their progress over time to see if they are improving. Let's see an example of that. Let's just say we had a student who was learning their times tables. In the first week, they got 12 out of 30 times table questions correct in a matter of 3 minutes. By week 4, though, they got 23 out of 30 of those questions correct. When you do that, you see a positive growing line. You see the student getting better over time on a graph. You can easily see the student progressing and getting better and better over time. And eventually, if this was to keep going, you would hope to see them all the way at 30 out of 30 eventually. However, if that same student in week 1 had a 12 out of 30 and week 4 only got 13 out of 40, yes, there was a little bit of growth there, but not as much as what you would want to see. You'd hope to see more growth over time. So what the teacher needs to do is change things up. They got to change up what they are learning. What they're doing right now is not good. They need to find a way to help that student to learn better. So this they cannot do. But whenever they change up what they're doing after week 4, you'd hope that eventually you could start to see another growth in the line over time through the coming weeks after that. Because that way the teacher would know that what they did helped the student to learn and help them to grow. So then the teacher could know for future reference that that is the way that they taught them at this point all the way after that, that is the way they need to teach the student for the rest of their time there, because this helped them grow. A good way to see this change over time is by using adaptations in your classroom, which would include adaptations in the design of the instruction, the curriculum and how it is instructed, and then behavioral support. The instructional design could be adding things like technology in the classroom to make things more fun and more interactive with the students and get them more motivated and help the student become more motivated to want to learn. The curriculum instruction, which could be talking slower, really pronunciating the words and making sure that everyone can understand what you're saying. And if you're writing anything down, writing in big letters and legible letters for them to know. And then for the behavioral support, that would just be in general helping the student in a way that is not embarrassing for them whenever a behavioral problem comes about. And a way that you can do this is by making a behavioral plan and help the student over time to show them over time how they have been progressing through a behavioral program. The last and almost most important thing about teaching a lesson to a student is delivering the instruction in a proper fashion. Perfect way to do this, the first way to do it is by having a quick pacing, a pacing that doesn't allow much downtime of time where the student is not learning anything. You want to make sure that the student is always staying intrigued and in tune with what they're learning. You got to keep a solid pace while you're teaching for the student. And you also need to create a sufficient amount of opportunities for student response. You need to ask questions, and you need to make sure that the students know the information. So you need to make sure that the students have a response that is in tune with what you're teaching. You need to make sure that you ask the students a lot if they understand questions that would help you to make sure that they understand what's going on in the information. And with that, you get feedback in the information. You need to make sure that you're asking those questions and getting the feedback from the student to make sure that everyone in the classroom, especially if there's a struggling student, to make sure that they are getting all the help they need and that they are understanding the information. All right, thank you. That's all I have. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something.